So I have this API, which is called dog API. As you can see here, it has an endpoint called random. That means each time I send a request, each time I send a request to the same URL, it will give me a different dog here. Now the example is very simple. So if I go to my project now, click on this one, as you can see, if we go to my network and I click on this one, it will give me a different dog, as you can see. So it's quite simple project actually. So let's go to app.jsx. In app.jsx, as you can see, I have two component header and dog container. And if I go click here and I go to the header, is nothing actually. I'm using Material UI, but it's simply nothing. I'm just putting the title here. And it's just a box, and typography, it's just for styling. I mean, it's Material UI, that's it. For dog container here, I'm doing a few stuff here. So first I'm creating a few pieces of state. First dog and set dog, and that will be my object, which I'll receive from the dog API. It will be this object. So if I go here, it will be just this object, as you can see, with message and status. And after that, I have count and set count. Now we'll see why you are using this count, set count. Then I have loading, you already know loading, and error message here. By default, it will be an empty string. Of course, I'm using use effect now. I'm creating an async function, fetch dog. Then I'm calling my API. So data, it's equal to await get dog. If I go to my API, it's nothing. I'm just using Axios, await Axios.get. That's the URL. If the status is not 200, I'm throwing an error. Also, I'm showing the status. If not, then I'm just returning rest.data, because as I told you in Axios, your data, it will be inside rest.data. Of course, if I go to the catch block, I'm just logging the error here. So it's not normally as we do. So here, I'm just trying to get my data. Data is equal to await get dog. That's my API. Of course, it must be a same function. If I have an error, I'm setting the error to error.message. Can anyone tell me why I'm setting this one to error.message? Why not error?
Because you use Axios.
Yes. So what will be the error here? What type of data error will be? It will be an array, it will be an object, it will be what?
Object?
All the time, yes. In Axios, the error here, it will be object, and it will has one property called message. And finally, you all know finally here, set loading to false, because by default, it's true. And here, that's simply how it is. So that's my component. It's not really difficult. I just have some Material UI. I have the button here. And this button, every time I click on this button, I need to send a new request to get a new dog. I will explain this one now. So loading here, I'm just saying loading. I'm rendering it conditionally, loading and. So if loading is true, it will render this one here, which is circular progress loading. If I have an error, it will show the error here. Remember, the error here, it's a string. And I'm putting the message. So all the time, it will be a string. Of course, if I have a dog here, it will be an object. Then I'm passing my data dog to a component called dog, which should be this component. Now, what I want to, every time I click on this button, I need to fetch a new dog. So how can I do that? Well, I need to somehow call this function again and again and again. And in order to do that, I can just put something in array of dependency. Whenever this thing changes, it will send another request to get a new dog, and it will update the dog data. And in order to do that, I just create a piece of state, which is called count set count. By default, it's 0. And here on my bottom, I have a function here on click is click handler. So what I'm doing here, I'm setting the loading to true. Why? Because I'm trying to fetch another dog. Then I will say set count is equal to the previous count plus 1. Remember, when set count changes, so when this one changes, it will affect this one here, because use effect here, it depends on the count. So when the count changes, whenever I click on the bottom, the count will change. It will come here and it will send another request to fetch the dog. And then after that, it will, if there's an error, to show errors, then it will stop the loading. So it will set the loading to false. Is the idea clear here? It's a simple example. Yes, no? It's the same we did before, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, good. And now here for dog, I'm passing my dog object data to dog component. So if I click on this one, that's my dog. And here I want to insert the message. Remember, the message was the URL actually. It's this message here. It's the image actually. I know the name is strange, but they call it message. That's how the API work. So here I just created an image, dog.message, alt, I don't have anything, I just put dog and some styling, that's it. So that's simply my project. It's super simple here. Now, I need to understand before maybe it's not a great example because I don't have a lot of nesting component, but I wanted to make it simple. Let me go here and let me open this one here, Escalator. Let's say that's my component app. And I want to create a few other components. So that's another component like that. Another component. Okay, let's just put here. Let's Control D like that. Do this one as well, and here do this one, for example. Now here my component, it's app component here, the root component. And let's say, for example, this is component 1. And this is component 2. You can name it whatever you want to, but I'm just going to name it 1, 2, 3. Click. No. 3. Voila. And let's name this one 2, 3. And here, this is my component 4, for example. And this is my component 5. Now, should be 5, actually, not 4. So the question here, can anyone explain what is prop drilling? So in React, we have a concept called prop drilling. Can anyone tell me what is prop drilling? So if I go to here and I can just say React prop drilling. Voila. And of course, you can read a lot of articles, it will explain a lot of stuff, but I want in simple word, what do you think a component or a React, prop drilling is? What do you think a prop drilling is? Daria? What is prop drilling?
I don't know. Maybe it's like some issue and you have to maintain it.
Dinyandu? What is prop?
Sending data parent to child, parent to child, parent to child.
Exactly. So what do I mean by prop drilling? Let's say now I have my state, I have some data here. So I have piece of, I'm using use state and I have piece of data here, some data here inside my app. Now, if I want to pass this data from, if I want to pass it from app to component 3, what should I do? So I want to pass the data from app to component number 3. What should I do? Can I directly pass it from the app to component 3?
No, you need to use props from and go to 1, and after that props to 2 and to 3.
Exactly. So I cannot just directly just pass the props from component app to component 3. I need to pass it to the child, which will be 1. Then I need to pass it to 2. Then I can pass it to 3. And if I want some other, the same here in component number 5, I need to pass it to 4. Although I don't need it in 4, huh? And then 5. So now, as you can see, my props here, I don't need the props in component 1, in component 2, in component 4. I don't need them. But I have no other choice because the way the component work here, if I wanna pass props, I need to pass it from the parent to the child to the grandchild and then grandchild. So I have no other option. And as you know, what is forcing the component to reload? Can anyone tell me when component will reload? First, if we change the state, and the second one, when? So if I change the state, the component can reload, right? It will update it.
Yes.
And there is another thing also, it forces the component to update or reload. What it is? Dinyando?
Life cycle?
No. So first, use state, and all the time, that's why I'm going to use state. It will force my component to update, but there is something else it will force my component to update. Okay, I'll make it simple. If I go now to app here and I change this fig store to get dog, will my component will be updated or not?
Yes.
So what's forcing the component to update is actually two things, the state and also the props. Whenever I change the prop, my component gonna reload. So now I've changed it, and now here, if I refresh it, and now here, see, I have a get dog. So that means it's updated. So there's two things forcing my component to update, the props and two, the state, changing the state. And of course, now, as you can see here, because I'm passing the props from here to here to here, I have no other choice. Now, if I change the props here, if this component is gonna update, this component is gonna update, and this component also, it will gonna update. Now, the update of this component, is it necessary? Component 2, is it necessary to update it?
No.
No. Component 1, is it necessary to update it? No. Component 4, is it necessary to update it? No, because I just need these props here in 5 and in 3. And as you can see, this is a problem. That's the reason why we call it prop drilling. Okay? Do you understand now what's the problem? Yes, no?
Yes.
So would it be nice if I, in a way, if I find a way just to pass my props here, instead of passing through all these components, pass it directly from app to 3 and from app to 5, would it be nice? Yeah, it will prevent updating all these components. I don't have to pass my props all this or through all these components. I can directly pass my props from app to component 3 and from app to component 5. Would it be nice if I can do that?
Totally.
Of course. And that's why we're using use context. So what use context is doing here, when I use context, I don't need any more the props. Why? Because simply here, I can just make like a global store here. So I have a like store or state, make it global, and I can access it directly from this component here, and I can access it directly from this component. And like that, I will avoiding prop drilling, and I will also prevent updating some component which is not necessary to update. So let's implement it. I know this project is very small. Maybe I don't need even context API. Why? Because I don't have a lot of props here. I just have one props here. I'm passing to this dog here. But the important for me is just the example. So what do I want to do now? Well, let me just go here. I need to just make a few changes because now here, well, maybe not. I can just import it in here. It's fine. So what was the first step to create the context API? What was the first step?
Create a folder.
So I need to create a folder. What do I name it? Context.
Context.
Yeah. Now I need to create my context. What should I name it? Maybe I can name it dog context, for example. Remember here, the name should start with upper D because now I will wrap it around my component. So it will look like component. So I need it to be uppercase .js. Voila.
Yeah, Sami, but this is a component, so why JS and not JSX? Because usually components are JSX.
That's not on a component. This is not a component. But when I insert it in app and I surround it with the other component, it will be component. But now this is not a component. Okay? It's not a component. I don't have component here. If it was a component, I will make it JSX. Okay, the first now, after that, after I create my file, I need now to import something from React. What it was? Import, create context from React. And now here I need to declare a remember, create context here, it's a function. This guy here is a function. Now I need to declare a variable. This variable name should be the same exactly as the name of the file. So I can just say const dog context, right? It's equal to, now I will execute my function. Voila. Remember, this one is a function. I just execute it. Now all I have to do now, I have to export this guy. And voila. Is that a component, Agnieszka? Is that a component?
No.
So it's not a component.
The naming is like a component, yeah. So
That's the reason I did not do a GSX extension. It's just GS. Okay, now
But after
first
that, when we put it into the app, it will be a component. It
yes, then I will wrap it as a component, but now here is not a component.
will- Okay.
That's nice. Okay, now what I need to do now, here I've created my context. Of course, you can create multiple contexts, not just one. So you can create multiple of them. So now what I want to do here, I can go to my app.jsx, but as you know here in my app.jsx, I have no data, right? So I don't have the dog data because what I'm doing here, let me just go to my component here. My data actually is here. The data I am passing as a prop, as you can see, it's dog. So it's this one here, this one, okay? That's my data. So I'm passing this data into dog here. So now normally we add it in app.jsx, but I don't have any data here in app.jsx. So now most of the time, of course, we will import it in app, but here I don't need to import it into app because I don't have the data I want to. So I'm going to import it in dog.container. So, okay, now what should I do here? Can anyone tell me what should I do here? What should I do here? Now I'm trying to consume my context. What should I do?
Import it.
I need to import my context. So what was the name of my context? Import. It was dog context, right? And I need to import from React something. What was? It's a hook.
Use
Use
context.
context. Voila. By the way, there is no different doing it here in a dog container, or normally we do it in the app because we have the data on app. But in my example here, I think it was not a good example, but anyway, I don't have any data on app, so I will add it here in dog container. Fine, now I have my context, I have everything. So all I have to do now to access my data, I can just say, for example, no, I don't want to actually, I need now to wrap my, I don't need that. No. Sorry, I don't need that. So I have my dog context. Now what should I do? I have my context. What should I do? What should I do?
Use it as a component.
So I need to wrap my component. So I can just say, voila. Yeah, but I did some mistake, I think. It was called dog context. So I said dog context. Yeah, just a second. Dog context. And now I will not do provider. I will just now, I just want to, voila. Now I need to take the second part, of course. Cut this one and put it at the end. So what did I do here? Well, I wrap my component around this one dog.context. And now here I need to say access a provider. Voila. So now here it is a React component, as you can see, dog. So I will take the name of my context, dog context, and I will just treat it as a React component, but I need to say dot provider. Provider here, which will allow me to create or to make it as a React component, as you can see. And I need to surround everything with that. Now, because this one is a React component, it can accept one prop, and this prop here, we call it value. Of course, the value could be anything. It could be string, it could be whatever you want to, but normally we created an object like that. Why? Because object allow me to pass more data. Now, what is the data here? What type of data here I am passing to my component dog? So which one I'm passing to my component called dog? The dog data, right? This one. Yes, no?
Yes.
So do I need set dog? Do I need set dog? Let me
Yes.
put my dog here. Do I need set dog here or only the dog?
Dog only.
I need only dog, so I will just add here. I can just say dog like that. Lowercase dog is equal to dog. Now, if I need set dog, I will just pass it as well. And now, as you can see, that's here. That's my context here. So now I pass it as a context. Now here, I don't need to pass this one as a prop. Why? Because, well, the dog here now inside my context API. And if I want to access it, I can access it in any other component. And I access it here. So now here, I don't need that as a prop. I don't need to pass it as a prop. You may tell me why. I'll tell you now why. Click on here. And here, I don't need to pass it as a prop as well. So let me get rid of this one. Okay. Fine. So I've wrapped everything here. I wrap everything inside dog context, depending on my context name here. By the way, you can have multiple contexts. If you have multiple contexts, you need to, for example, add another context. You can. For here, you can say, for example, cat context, provider, and the same idea. You need to wrap everything with us. Fine. Now I put inside my context here dog. Now I am not passing any props. I don't need to pass any props. Now here in my dog, now I need to pass my value here inside my context API. But how can I do that? Well, first I will need two things. First, I need to import the name of my context. What was the name of my context? What was the name of my context?
Dog
Dog.
context.
Dog context, voila. And I need another hook. What was the hook name?
Use
Use context. So I can just say use context like that. Voila, and I'm import. No, doesn't work really. Import use context from React. Voila. And import is not correct actually. Yeah, import and from, yeah, it's correct now. Okay, now I have the name of my, yeah, but I don't need you. Okay, so I have my hook, use context, and I have the name of my context. So how can I access the data? Well, now it will be super simple. I can just say const, that's the data I want to. So the value here, I can just name it value. And now here I need to use context, and use context is a function, and I need to pass the name of my context. What is the name of my context? Well, it's called dog context. Voila. Now I will have my data. Now, if I log this value, it will be an object. Why? Can anyone tell me why it will be an object? Why it will be an object? So why my value here, my value here, why it will be an object? If I log it, it will be an object. Why?
because it's something what we receive from API.
So it will be object because what did I pass here to the value? What did I pass to here? What did I pass?
Object.
Object. So as a value here, by the way, the value is just one curly brace like that. It's just one curly brace. I can pass a string if I want to like that. It's fine. I can pass whatever I want to, but I did not pass a string. I pass an object. Okay? So it's not double curly brace. No, it's single curly brace. And I can pass any value I want to, but I prefer all the time to pass an object because object can hold multiple value. And I pass this object, as you can see. So it's normal when I access it, I will get an object, right? And here's that's my object. Now, if I log the value, let's name it dog. So we don't have, let's name it, no, actually, let's name it value. It's fine. Let's just log it and see what will happen. Probably I will have an error here. So let me comment this one so I don't have this error. Let's go here, fix store. Let's go to the console and let's refresh. And now, as you can see here, see, I have an object and I have my dog and I have the currency. See, that's my data. So now I have an object. Can I destructure this object or not? It's object inside it so it's object inside an object because the dog is an object and I make my value object. So can I destructure the dog or not? Yes. So all I have to do now, instead of just typing value, I can just type dog. Voila. And that's what I want to actually. I want my dog here. And here I don't have value anymore. Voila. And now all I have to do, I have uncomment this one and voila. And I did not use any props. And if I go now to my code, well, it's working. As you can see. And in here, of course, it tells me fail to pass props because I don't have any props anymore. So I need to remove this one. And also I need to remove the props because I don't need them anymore. I've used context. And voila. Let's go here, refresh, and I don't have any error, as you can see. Voila. Perfectly working. So as you can see here, sometime if I have to pass a prop, you just need to understand when to use the use context. Sometime if I have some component, I have to pass some data or some state from the app to one component to another here. All of them are children. If I don't, so as you can see, if I am passing the props to some component which I don't need, but I have no choice because I need to pass them to their children or grandchildren, that's here at this point, it would be great to use context. Because if you use context, you don't need to pass anything as a prop. Nothing, as you can see. Is the idea clear 100% for everyone? Yes, no? Do you want to take another example?
Yes, let's take another one.
Fine, let's do another example. I will not make his dog like that, something realistic. I will make it something simple, actually. Let's delete this one. I don't want the context. I'm going to delete the context. I will create a new context. My component here, let's go to app.jsx. And here I don't have these two components, so let me get rid of them. Let's say here, in my component here, let's say I have some data. Const, I will just make them like that. Const data. I'll make them just an object like that. Const data. And here I will pass name, age, city, stuff like that. So as you can see, I have an object here, as you can see. Voila. So my root component, in my root component, which is app, I have, let's just say hello for now. I have some data. And now what I want to here, I want to pass this data to some component I will create. So I will name my component here, component A. I know the name is not good, but anyway, I will name it a.jsx. I will name them a second component, just like my example, if you remember here. I name it one, I will name it now A, B, C, D, E, or F. So that's what I will name it. Okay, now that's A. Let's create another component. Let's name it B. And here another component. Let's name it C. Voila. So I have three components. Each one of those, it will be the child. So now C here, let's say A, it will be the child of app. B, it will be the child of A. And C, it will be the child of B. So let's create this one. Now let me import my component. I will import A. So import A. Come on. Import A. No. A from A. So that's my component here. I just name it A. And now all I have to do, I need to put my component A here. A, capital. And yeah, I need to pass that data. So I need this data in A. Actually, I don't need the data in A. I want to pass the data to C here. But now we'll see. Let me now not pass the data later. Let me just render my component for now. Okay, so now A is a child of app. So now here I don't have a component, so let me create it. RAFCP. I don't need that. I don't need that. And voila. So that's my component A for now. Fast refresh only work when a file export a component. Use a new file to share. Please. Anyway. Now let me go to my component B and create it as well. I will just create all the components for now. Let me get rid of you. And yeah, as I said, I don't need proc for now. And let's go to C as well. RAFCP. And that's component C. Let me get rid of this one. And for now, I don't need those. And that's it. So now that A is a child of this app. And now let me go to A. And inside A, what I'm going to do here, I'm gonna import the component B. So import B from B, and B here, it will be the child of A. Voila. And here I'm just doing B. And now let's go to C as well. C already created. I will go inside B, and now I need to import C. Import C from C. And voila. Do you understand what I did here? So that's my app. No, cancel. Okay, so that's my component app. And inside app, just a second. I've created how many? Let's control D, control D, control D. I have 4 components. Like that, and like that. Okay, so that one here is the app component. Which one is the child of app? Which one is the child of app?
A,
A, indeed. Which one is the child of A?
B,
B, indeed. Which one is the child of B?
C.
C, which is good. Now, what do I want to do? Well, I want to pass the data here. I have some data in app, and I want to pass them to C. But the normal tradition here we are doing here, I cannot do that. I need to pass it as a prop. So I need to have, if I pass it as a prop, I need to pass it to A, and then from A to B, and then from B to C. So I will do that first. And after that, I will use context to directly pass this data from the app to C. And if we've done this example, it should be very clear, right? After that, of course. Yes?
It should be, yeah.
No. Now, what do I want to do? So that's my data here. If I want to pass my data to C, I have no other option here because the props work from the child. So I can pass this data to this, its child, and the child is A. So here I can just say, for example, data, and data is equal to what? To data. I have no other option. So I need to pass it to its child, and its child is data. Its child is A. So now, as you can see, the same idea here. From app, I have data. I need to pass it to A. I have no other choice. And now, of course, because I'm passing data now to A, this is A, I'm passing data to A. Now I can receive it as a prop. And I can just do it here, data, like that. And now here I can pass this data to B, right? So I can just say data, it's equal to data. Voila. And after that, well, from B here, because now the C is child of B, I am passing it to B. If I go to B, and here's a child here, so I will receive them as well as the data. And now finally, I will be able to reach the data to the component C. Data. And now finally here in C, I will receive the data. I will show you the data now. Data like that. Voila. So let me just go to A first. Now here I need to define what type of data. Data was an object, right? So I have name, age, city. So I just need to define the prop type. If I go to B, it will be the same idea here. I need to use shape, use name, age, city. And if I go to the last one here, it's the same idea. Voila. Voila. And now I just want to show this data. So let's try to show this data. I have H1, as you can see, name, age, city. And here I have A. Now here, if I go to my component here, what is it? Those from source does not exist because it's from component actually. It's not like that. It's component or slash component slash A. And now it will work. And voila, as you can see. Now here, if I open my React Dev tool, let me go to React Dev tool. Where is it? Click. Component. So as you can see here, in my component A, I have the data. In my component B, I have the same props here, the same data. And in my component C, I also have the props, as you can see. So what I am doing here? Well, what I am doing here, I'm passing this data from app to A to B to C. I don't need them in A and B, but I have no other choice. I have no other choice. The props, that's how it works. If I want to pass them to C, I need to pass them to the first child, and the first child is A. Although I don't need them in A. I'm not using them in A, but I have no choice. Then I need to pass them to B. I don't need them in B, but I have no choice because I need to pass them to C. Then from B, I'm going to pass them to C, and voila, that's how I show my data. Is the idea clear now? Yes? No? Yes, no?
Yes.
Good. Now, it will be great if I did not pass my props here to A and B because I don't need them in A and B. Now, each time I do some, let's say, each time I change this data, if I go now to app and I change the name from John Doe to Jane Doe, what will happen? Of course, all the components gonna re-render. Why? Because the prop are changing, the component A, it will be re-rendered, it will update it. Component B, it will be updated, and then component C, it will be updated. And thus here, I don't want actually component A and B, they should not update it because I'm not changing anything on them. Component C should be updated. But as you can see, I have no other choice because I'm passing props through them, so they will get updated. Okay, now let's try to prevent this way. Let's try not to pass the props here. Let's get rid of the props. This is very ugly way. So let's get rid of props like that. Let me go to A here. I don't need the prop here. Let's remove it. I will not use prop at all. And I don't need you. And also I don't need you, all of you. No need. Let's go to B. I don't need you as well. Voila. I need just to close it. I don't need the prop here. And of course, I don't need the prop here. So I'm kind of deleting the props. I will try to access the data directly from C and see if that will work or not. I don't need the props. And here for now, I'll keep those as like that, but I don't have any props anymore. So let me remove all the props. Voila. So as you can see, I remove all the props. So I don't have now any props in A. I don't have any props in B. And somehow I need this data, which is this data here. Somehow I need to access them inside the C. I will not pass them through. I will not pass them through A or B. I will find a way to pass my data here directly from app to C. Voila. And like that, if I change this prop or this data, the component A and B, they will not re-render. They will not update. And that's what I want to write. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so how can I do that? Well, it's super simple. All I have to do, I need to create a new folder called context. And here I need to create a new file. So context is depend on what do you want. Here I will name it data because I'm trying to pass the data. So I can just name it data context. You can name it whatever you want to, but remember, you need to start with uppercase. So here it must be D capital. So I name it data context. Context like that. Come on. Data context.js. Voila. So that's the first step. So the first step to create a context API, I need to create a folder called context. Then I need to create a file. The file name of the file depends on you. What I'm trying to pass here, I'm trying to pass data. That's why I name it data context. I can name it person context as well because I'm trying to pass the data of person, name, age, city. So that's possible as well. Enter. And here in my context here, first I need to create my context. To create my context, I have 3 steps. I need first to import something from React, which is called create context. As you can see, create context here, it's a function. So now I can execute it because it's a function. I can execute it. But of course, now, as you know here, if I execute a function, I need to save it in a variable because it returns an object for me. So I need to save it in a variable. And the name of the variable, it will be the same as the name of my file. So I can just say const, I name it data context. So data context, it's equal voila. That's correct, right? Context, yeah. And now all I need to do, I need to export it. Voila. So I created my context. It's very simple. I import create context from React. I execute it because it's a function. Then I store it in a variable and the name of the variables will be the same name as the name of my file. Then I'm exporting it. Now what do I need to do? Normally we go to the app.jsx. Why? Because my data exists in app.jsx. So what should I do? Well, first I need to import my context. What I name my context? What did I name it? Data context. So I need to import it. Data like that. It's uppercase actually. Voila. After I import my data context, now I need to wrap it around my whole application. So I need to consider it as just like React component. So I will wrap it here. So I can just do this one. Voila. Voila. Of course, it's opening and closing tag. And now here I will surround all my application with this one here, just like any React component. But I need to pass something called provider with capital P. So provider here now, it allows me to render it as a React component. Because it's similar to React component, or it is a React component, I can pass a prop. So I am allowed to pass one prop, we call it value. Voila. Now the value here can be anything you want to. Now I want to pass my data here. Normally I will create an object, but now as you can see, my data is already object, right? So I don't have to create another object. I can just pass my data here. Just say data, data, voila. No, I do not need to create. I can just pass my data, I think, like that, just like that, it will work. because my data is an object, remember here. So I don't need to create another object, just I will pass my data. Voila. So now here, as you can see in my context API, I have this data. Everything's fine. Now I need to know just how to consume this data, how to get this data. Okay, do I need to go to component A or B? Or I can directly go to component C.
Directly to C.
Okay, now I'll go to component C. And now here I need to import few steps. First, I need to import the name of my context. What was the name of my context?
Data context.
Context. And also I need to import one hook from React. We call it use.
Context.
Yes, use context. Use context. Voila. Well, now it becomes super simple. All I have to do now, I will go to my component and I can just say here const data. It's equal to, now I need to use this hook, use context, which is a function, and I need to pass the name of my context, which is data context. And now here, if I go to my application, voila, still working as you can see. Voila, same idea. Cool. And as you can see now, I have my, see, it's still inside my hook, I have this data. Now, if I go to my app, see, I don't have the data. If before when I pass it as a prop, I have it. But here, of course, I don't pass it as a prop, as you can see. So I don't pass it as a prop to A, I don't pass it prop to B. Only my data exists as a hook context, as you can see. Well, I have them here. Now, if I change this data in app.jsx, this component, this one, it will not be re-rendered. And this one, it will not be re-rendered. Only C, it will be re-rendered. And that's what I want to. Cool. It should be clear 100%.
Yes, thank you, Samir.
Sorry?
Yes, thank you.
Fine. I've shared with you an article, some MD file, I wrote it about use context. I also share some video about use context with you, also you can watch it, they're good. Now I just need to explain something else and we should be done, which is called React conciliation. Actually, that's super important. I remember in one of the interviewer asked me about React conciliation. So you need to be aware of it. It's not difficult concept, actually, it's simple. It's theoretical, but anyway, it's good to know. So if I go to use context hook, we already know that. If I go to React conciliation or reconciliation. So what the hell is reconciliation? Let me just do some diagram here. Let me remove this one here. As you know, in React, we have virtual DOM and we have real DOM, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
Good. So that's DOM and that's virtual DOM. DOM, and here a virtual DOM, which is in the memory. Voila. Now, the reconciliation means how React treat, if I change something in my component, how React makes these changes. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go to this example here. I will keep the same example. Let's say I modify, let's say here I modify this div into, so I will just take a copy from here. And now I will make it as a comment. Let me just do this one. Tab and here. So that's my component, okay? It's the same component. This one and this one is the same. So now the question here, if I change the div into span, for example, what do you think React will do? Will React destroy everything and rebuild everything from the beginning or not?
No, just span.
Are you sure? It's a parent component, huh? Is this the parent component? This is
Yeah,
a
but DOM will rewrite everything, but React will take a part that you will change it.
okay. Okay, good. Any idea? So now if I go, that's my component here. And now here I change my component from div here to span. How React will interact with this one? Will it destroy everything and rebuild everything from scratch or no? Yeah, any idea? Come on, guys, just take a guess. Take a guess. Don't be. Take a guess. Guys, Ahlam, what do you think? Ahlam, you are there?
Yes.
What do you think? If this is my component. Let's imagine I have only this component. Actually, let me go to app here. That's my only component. As you can see, I'm gonna delete this one. I don't need this one. I don't need this one. I don't need the data. And also I don't need this component. So let's do this one here. Let's remove this as well. I don't need you as well. And let's go here and let's create few stuff here. Like that. Let's create a p tag. Hello. Like that. So now, if I come to my component and I change this div to span, what do you think React will do? Will React will destroy all of the element and create and you start from again, or what? Take a guess. Okay, guys. If I've changed the parent component, which is div, if I change the div from div to span, what React is going to do, it will destroy everything. Why? Because here I'm changing the tag, the parent tag. So the upper tag, the parent tag here, I'm changing the div to span. So React will destroy everything, is gonna build again a span and then H1 and B1. Okay, that's in case I am changing the parent component. Is the idea clear? Yes, no? Hello? So if I change this parent component from div to span, React is gonna destroy everything, all the component. It will remove all its children, and then it will create a span, and then it will create a new children. Is the idea clear? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay, that's first. Second, of course, now here I change the parent element. What if I change the H1 here? I make it from H1 to H2. So I'll come here to this example, and here I will just come to H2. So here I did not change the parent, I just change one child. What React will do? What do you think? It will destroy the parent or not?
No, only the child.
Indeed. So React here, it will not destroy the parent. It will come compare this one to this one and say, is there is no change? It will compare this one to this one and say, H1 is being replaced by H1 is replaced by H2, so it will destroy this one and create H2. That's nice. So what React is doing? Well, React, if I change the parent component, React is gonna destroy this one here, the parent element, let's say, or the parent component. If it's component, React is gonna destroy everything and build everything from scratch. But if I'm changing the child, one child, React only is gonna replace or rebuild here only this child. Okay, now if I come to the parent here and I just add a class, what do you think React will do? Class name, let's say test. Do you think React will destroy the parent component or not? I'm just adding a class, a new class, and here I add a class. Yes.
No, it will only add.
Indeed. So React is going to do here, it will not change anything. It will just go to the parent and it will add a new attribute, which will be class. That's it. And it will not change nothing in the children. It will only here, it will not change the parent. It will just add a class. That's it. And that's simply what we call reconciliation. That's how we call the reconciliation. So reconciliation simply means how React, so if I change something in my component, how React is gonna recreate my component. So first, React so it will take this component, put it in the virtual DOM, and it has a copy from the old virtual DOM. It will compare both of them. So both of them, it will compare. We'll see the parent element. Did I change the parent element? If yes, it will destroy everything and rebuild everything. Then it will update the real DOM. If I did not change the parent element, I just added a class or any attribute, it will just add this attribute to the parent element, and then it will update it in the real DOM. If I change any child, well, what is going to do here, React is going to go to this child and then update this child only, or it will update this child and then it go to the real DOM and then update it, and voila. Is the idea clear? Yes, no?
So really, it's only this?
Hmm?
It's only this? the whole point is
Yes, it's only this, but it's not easy to understand because some people think that React is just, how can I say, and I have virtual DOM and then it will just update it to the real DOM. No, what reconciliation is doing here, it's save an old version. So let me just delete this one. So it has an old version of the previous virtual DOM. That's actually a tricky question. Let's go here. So what React is doing, I have virtual DOM, but also I have a copy from the old virtual DOM, the previous one. So previous, I'll name it previous virtual DOM. So what's React doing when I change something, I have the virtual DOM and it will compare it to the previous virtual DOM and see, okay, did I change the parent? If I change the parent, it will destroy everything and rebuild it, then update the real DOM. But if I didn't change the parent, if I just change the attribute, then it will just add the attribute to the parent and then go to the real DOM and update it. So as you can see, by reconciliation, React makes the minimum change to my real DOM, and that's the reason why it's fast. So first, it will compare it to the previous virtual DOM, then it will make the changes, only the minimum necessary changes, then it will update the real DOM. And that's why React is fast. Is the idea clear? Yes, no?
yes.
Yes.
That's what we call reconciliation. Of course, here you can read this one here. It will tell you the virtual DOM. Before diving into reconciliation, it's important to understand the concept of virtual DOM. You know already what's virtual DOM. Now, key concept, I forgot to say something here. Now, let's say I have a list. If I have a list in React, all the time React is complaining, right? Enter key, right? If I say li like that, li, I think I can say multiply by 5, let's say. If I do something like that, React always complain. It's enter key, right? When I map through a list, all the time is say enter a key.
So in general, when you map,
Yeah, general
you-
format, but also here, see, I need to have a key. If I don't have a key, React will complain. So I need to add a key. And here, let's say key 1. And here I can add key 2 and like that. So can anyone tell me why React is complaining whenever I have a list? React is asking me, please enter a key. What's the reason? Why? What is the reason? Can anyone tell me?
because after that he knows we delete or change, or yeah, because the key is unique.
Exactly. So React use this key. So for example, now I have this list. Let's say I come and I change my list here. I will just paste it here. It's just a comment like that. Let's say I remove this li here, or I add a new one. If I don't have a key, React does not know which li I updated. So it will come and destroy everything and then rebuild everything. And of course, that's not efficient. So what React is doing, why is the reason why it's asking for a key now is because the key is unique, it know which element I destroyed or which element I added. And like that, it will only change the element necessary li, and it will not touch the other one. Is the idea clear? That's the reason why I need key all the time in React. Yes?
Yes.
Good.
And in which kind of situation we need also key? When we are mapping in li?
List, when you map through whenever you have an array, when you map through them and you create, most of the time when we're mapping through our data and create a component, or when you have a list, you need the key. Okay? Yes? Yes, no? React will tell you, if you need a key, React will tell you. It will complain and will tell you, give me a key. Don't worry about that. Okay, so virtual DOM, we already said. So as a virtual DOM, of course, it's created in React to make it faster and more efficient. So what is a reconciliation algorithm here? Just rendering, diving, and patching. Don't worry about that. That's what I care about. So when rendering a list, just explained it here, I need to pass a key. Why? Because the key is unique identifier for each li element. And when, of course, I change one of them, React will know which element I change. And like that, it does not have to render the other element. Element type. If the root element, that means the parent element, has been changed, React is going to destroy everything, as I told you. It will destroy the old tree, the old component, and build a new one. If one child has been changed, React, it will only change this child. And of course, if I have a list, I will have a key, and React like that, it will know which one is being replaced. Update the component here. If I update, for example, the props or the state, React here, it will only change what is necessary, only change the data. It will not touch the DOM element here, the component. So if I compare this one with this one, what do you think it will happen? So the parent element is the same, right? Will React is gonna destroy everything or not?
No, it will add only spam.
The first element, the first child is the same. I know actually this one is being updated. So what is React is gonna do here? So will React update the H1 or it will update only the text?
Only the text.
Yeah, only the prop or only the state or only the text. The p tag is the same, so React is not gonna touch it. And here I've added a new span, so React, it will create this span. And as you can see, that's the explanation. That's what we call reconciliation in React. Okay. Now I've shared with you a video, which is a great explanation with animation. So I advise you actually to.
Hello and welcome.
I advise you to have a look at it. You still see my screen, right?
Yes.
So this video, please follow this video because it's explaining the idea with animation. It makes it super clear, as you can see. It's really good to watch this video. Reconciliation is super important. I know it's theoretical concept, but it is important. That's it. I think now you know how to efficiently use context. You know what the reconciliation is. And yeah. So what I will ask you now, Radhika finish your project, good. What I'll ask you now to do, go back to your project, try to finish it. Tomorrow, I'm gonna explain the last concept in our curriculum, which will be React Router DOM, how to create route in React. Let's go here, lesson plan. So week 3, we will have a React router, and then you need to do this project fake store. I will give you 2 days to finish this one. For the portfolio, I will explain. I will not code portfolio because it's your portfolio, so you need to code it yourself. It's really different from person to person. It's your portfolio. But week 4, I've already prepared some stuff here. So how can I debug my React project? Redux toolkit. I will also go through the classes in JavaScript, maybe a little bit Webpack if we want. Then we have Electron and React Native. Do you know what's Electron? Anyone know what is Electron? So Electron is just, it's a library allow us to create a desktop application. Okay, desktop application in JavaScript. Of course, the language used is JavaScript. And React Native, as you can see here, we can build an application for mobile. So React Native for mobile, Electron for desktop application, and React for web, for website and stuff like that. React, Angular, Vue, whatever. Okay. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I will give you some project actually for React. Just I need to give you a project. Maybe classes I will give you a project. Electron and React Native, I will not give you a project here. These 3 no project, but maybe 1 project here and 1 project here. So 2 projects. So that will be the last week. Stop.